Hello everyone, a happy new year to you and welcome to the very first Hey Legal Social. With January being quite a challenging month for us all with returning to work, still a lot of us working online from home, we thought it would be a good idea to hold an event to get the legal community together and kickstart the calendar year in a positive way. So we have some amazing guests on tonight and a packed schedule. We would love for you to become involved as well by sending in your comments or questions for our guests to the live chat if you're watching via YouTube. Twitter, we believe, doesn't allow for comments yet, but we still certainly have that facility in YouTube. So please do send in your questions or comments for our guests. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Workflow, Denovo and Bundle Docs, and their links are all in the description below. So let's get started. And my first two guests this evening to discuss the importance of staying connected and also the importance of helping each other, seeking help where needed, and again, we'll also be discussing some positive strategies for those who might be struggling a little. I'm joined this evening by my first guests who need little by way of introduction, the Dean of Faculty, Roddy Dunlop QC, and Iain Smith of Keegan Smith Defence Lawyers and Trauma Aware Law. Welcome, Roddy and Ian.
Hi there.
Hi Edith. Hi Roddy.
How are you both?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good.
Slightly stressed.
Happy New Year to you both.
And Happy New Year as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose just to kick off our first ever live social, legal social, we just wanted to kind of gather and talk about what a tremendously challenging time we've been through, and I suppose that's been for some time now, and on many fronts, both work life and just life in general. And now that we're into a new year, I wonder if either of you or both of you had some thoughts or reflections on the times that we've been through. Roddy, will I come to you first?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's been difficult for it. It's not obviously not just the legal profession, it's been difficult for society as a whole. But focusing on our profession and the way we work, the changes have been pretty fundamental to the not just the way that we interact with the courts, but the way that we interact with each other and with our clients, and not in a good way. I mean, you wouldn't want to see this prolonged any longer than is necessary, because leaving aside my own feelings about the denigration of the quality of justice that's provided over WebEx hearings compared to in-person hearings, just the lack of essential human interaction is a problem. And we see that reports for my side of the profession, approximately a third of members of faculty have reported impact on their sense of well-being, their mental health as a result of feelings of isolation. Faculty is essentially a very collegiate place. You're always, in normal times, you're always able to go and grab someone in the library if you've got a question, if you've got a problem, take them for a coffee, chat things through. That's the best way of reassuring yourself, of curing any doubts, but also providing support to others. And it's how friendships are formed. And also, if you look at how young lawyers learn by watching others, by being in the company of others. And there are concerns about how we're training the lawyers of tomorrow in the situation where we're all so remote from each other. So it's been tough. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And we all have to do what we can to try and help each other through it. And what I've been trying to do is reinforcing the message that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for help from your peers, from your friends, from thinking about the bar, from your devil masters, from the office bearers. No one's door is shut, actually or virtually. And it's important you reach out for that help. Because when you're stuck working at home day after day and you're not getting that essential human interaction and that ability to ask for assistance, it can be very isolating, and it can be quite detrimental to how you feel about things in a way that simply wouldn't be the case in normal times. So I think it's very important to be ready to reach out. It's far more difficult to pick up the phone or even to send an email than it is if you bump into somebody in the library to say, can I chat to you about this?
Yeah.
But don't be afraid to do that. And equally, if you're the person being asked for help, unless you've literally got something that needs to be done, then spend that 5 minutes chatting, offering your views, offering assurance, or even talking someone out of something that you think, well, actually, I don't think you should go down that route. That's not the way to do this. That's the best way we can support each other in these isolated times, and these, frankly, sometimes rather depressing times.
Yeah, and I think there's a real sense of that lack of buzz about courts where you would be, or at faculty where you would be going in knowing that you're going to bump into various people and have those opportunities. And I think people do feel a bit, hesitant about phoning someone up and thinking, oh, that maybe they're in the middle of something, I'm going to be annoying them or whatever. But with the lack of, that social interaction physically, that is necessary. So that really is good advice, Roddy. And as you say, people at faculty are keen to help. Don't ever think that phoning someone else is a bother. And if they can't answer your call, they'll get back to you. So yeah, absolutely. Ian, what about you?
Yeah, we've seen the same in the Sheriff Court. Not. I guess in some ways the faculty is a great place in the library, and you meet each other and you walk around the hall, and I guess these things have been curtailed in part. A lot of people working from home, whereas I guess the spit and sawdust of the Sheriff Court and the JP Court, we've by and large been there, but for most of it, our clients largely haven't, and our clients haven't. So we have seen each other in some ways, but there is a real sense of disconnect going on. And I think it's important that we do connect with each other, that we do stay in touch. I think it's also important that we know it's okay not to feel okay, because I think it's particularly Scottish men aren't particularly good at sharing their feelings and their emotions, because it's seen as an issue of weakness, when in fact it's probably quite a strong thing to actually be open and honest and say, I'm struggling or I'm having a hard time. In saying that, I'm not particularly good at myself. I see the stress in my clients and I'm happy to talk to them about it, but I think myself, and I think other lawyers in particular, we're not so good at analysing ourselves or helping ourselves or recognising when we're overworked or we're stressed or we're not having a great time. I don't think we're particularly good as a profession at throwing our hands up and saying, I'm struggling here. And that's something I think the Law Society have taken on board, and they've provided a lot of talks about it. They talk about well-being, both solicitor and advocate well-being. And I think it's important, again, as Roddy's leading on it as well at the moment, sadly, with what had happened in faculty itself, that it's important to talk about it. So things aren't a secret. There's no elephants in the room, that you can talk about mental health and well-being without feeling embarrassed. Because I think historically, people didn't talk about it because it was something to be ashamed of, when in fact it's not, in my view.
Absolutely, and what you alluded there to is our dear friend Stephen O'Rourke, and a nicer man you couldn't find, and someone who, on the face of it, appeared to have things together and appeared very jovial and happy. But as you say, we find it difficult to admit that we're struggling, because it almost seems that we're admitting failure or something of that ilk, and it's very much the opposite. And I think a number of the comments that I've read from colleagues speaking about Stephen really emphasise that, and just a kind of a sadness that he didn't realise how much he was loved and cared for, and how much help there was for him. And we don't want to go into too many details about that, but I think you're right. We need to recognise these things and just express that and deal with these big issues, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Stephen's situation is such a tragedy that hurt us all so deeply, and still does. But it's an illustration. I mean, a very extreme illustration. It's an extreme illustration of how bad things can get if you don't talk about things. And I think you're absolutely right. He didn't know how respected and loved he was, and it's such a shame that he didn't feel able to reach out to so many people that cared for him when he was in his darkest moment. And that'll haunt me for some time, I'm afraid.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I know the other thing I was just thinking as you're talking was even just before the Christmas break, I think because we're certainly in the criminal side of things, and Ian, you'll be seeing this too, there's so much going on, it's so busy, you can get so caught up that it's sometimes difficult to recognise that you're getting stressed. And I was finding it was manifesting itself physically, where you were getting headaches and things. And it's also just taking time to stop and realise that, yes, work's very important, but you are not, you're not a machine. If something happens to you, then that's really very important to take care of yourself. And I'll be looking later at that with my friend Mandy Gordon. She'll be on later to talk about health and well-being. But from that respect, what kind of things do you guys do in terms of looking after yourself or recognising when things are getting a bit tough? How do you take time out? Roddy, what about you?
Well, I actually had ironically the reverse of that, having managed to return a positive LFT test on the 23rd of December. I found myself working over the 10-day isolation period because I've got so bored of box sets and staying away from all other human beings. But that's not the normal way of things. Absolutely, you have to make time for yourself, and you have to make time for your friends and your family, and not just throw yourself into work the whole time. So I mean, I've bored you about this before, Edith, but I love heavy metal. Nothing better than putting on a bit of Iron Maiden to get you out of any dark moments you might have. Go to the gym if you're speaking to your colleague or your friend later on. It's really important, especially at this time of year. We're all carrying a few extra Christmas pounds. I certainly am. Really important to get the adrenaline rush of just doing a bit of exercise. Whether it's walking the dog, something that was also banned for that 10-day period. Poor dog was going stir crazy by the end of it. But yeah, just taking time to do something that's not the core focus of your existence as a lawyer, and just making time for yourself and your loved ones. And there are so many different ways of doing that, but it's absolutely important, because if we just become this one-dimensional, I'm just there to be a lawyer, I'm just there to be a QC, a solicitor, or whatever, then that way, well, maybe not madness, but unhappiness lies. I've no doubt.
Absolutely. I think that's so true, Roddy, and you can kind of lose sight of who you really are. If you're trying to, it's not a facade in any way, it's obviously part of our lives, our work, but if that becomes your main or only focus, then that other areas of your life start to feel the pinch. So yeah, absolutely. Ian, what about you?
Yeah, not quite the gym, unfortunately. I normally cycle. I'm not at any particular level, but I try to cycle with my friends, dog walking, hill walking. I've taken to open water swimming at the local reservoir in Balerno, and it's absolutely freezing. So I did that with some of the trauma-aware law group. We did that. I think it was a bit warmer, probably about September time. But I tried to do it last week with my kids, and we went in, but I got as far as my knees when everything shut down. But there is meant to be some therapeutic value in it. Wim Hof method, I think it's called, and you go under. It's meant to be good for slowing the chances of getting dementia, but it apparently creates endorphins in your body, and you do feel good having done it. But at the time, it's horrible. So I know quite a few that are doing that. There's some of the criminal bar in Edinburgh do it. So that's quite a fun thing to do. But I think I'll always have some activity, and I think the key for me is in health and well-being is important. So gym, etc. But just connecting with friends and staying in touch with friends is really, really important. I had a strange thing happen to me at Christmas. My 15-year-old daughter probably can see things better than I can see things, and I think she sensed I was worried. So this is my Christmas present from my 15-year-old daughter, and that's a Guatemalan worry doll And apparently you give this little doll all your worries. I don't know if it works or not. So far it hasn't, because I've got a few hanging around. But I think the point of it is that you recognise that, you know, you're carrying all these troubles. It doesn't do any of us any good when you worry about things. And I guess not unburdening on your friends, but sharing these things is important. Probably as important as running or going for a jog and keeping yourself fit. You need to be mentally fit as well.
Yeah.
Equally, and there has to be limits to sharing, and I'm sure that I and some of the participants in this today will be needing counselling at the thought of you and your budgie smugglers in Balerno Reservoir.
There's worse stories than that, as you know, Roddy. What you might not know, but Roddy and I were at uni together, so there's a few stories. So this doesn't descend into an episode of the In-Betweeners, but yeah, we've been through quite a lot. Roddy and I lost a friend 15 years ago to suicide, and we both know how tough that was and how it lingers, because you still think about these things. But actually, in a positive sense for me, I moved into the village where he stayed, and I got down about him passing away and struggled and created a football team. And now we've got a sort of middle-aged guys football team and squad of guys that we all meet. And I'm just saying, so from the tragedy, for example, of Stephen, the good thing is Dean of Faculty is talking about it. You're talking about it. You've all seen it, and hopefully such a thing never happens again, because you can communicate and bring this on. But yeah, no. Yes, my budgie smugglers actually wear lots of clothes when they go in the water. They all get wet. Struggle to get them off. But yeah, everyone's welcome to Balerno for the reservoir dip.
Yeah, I was here's my dog.
The three of us have got dogs, but I think that's your one, Edith.
Somebody's at my door. But anyway, yeah, I was just going to say, I also had that vision of the Speedos and the bob hat. Ian, I don't know. In fact, today I had been doing some Joe Wicks workouts. It must have been over Christmas, and I was in court, Glasgow High Court today, and just as the judge was about to come on, suddenly Joe Wicks started blaring out of my laptop, and I could not turn it off. So I found myself running out of court thinking, how on earth do I switch this off? But yeah. But yeah, I think you're right. And I think that with the exercise thing and the cold water swimming thing, it seems to be that, you know, it's intense enough that your brain just can't focus on anything else. It actually gives your brain a bit of a rest, which I think we all do need.
Absolutely. And to close the circle, I famously, with a very early generation smartphone, once played Iron Maiden at full volume in a hearing in front of Lord Emsley. Not advisable. He did keep his complete cool though, and just looked up, put his pen down, and went, "Mr. Dunlop, is that you playing that awful noise?" Yes, I'm afraid it is, my lord. I'll stop it immediately.
Oh dear. Well, hopefully my dog has now been quiet. Yeah, I think though, lots of helpful things discussed just now, and I think really going forward, as you both said, it's just talking about these things, not being embarrassed about asking for help, not feeling that asking for help means you're a failure, and knowing that, you know, we all might be doing a job and that might be the only thing that kind of brings us together, but we are there for each other, and if anyone needs help, they only have to kind of reach out. I was going to ask as well, it being a new year, anyone made any New Year's resolutions at all? Do people still do that?
I'm a dry January so far, so I'm not going to drink in January, and I'm going to try and cut down, try to be healthy, but not going brilliantly well so far.
Yeah, I'm likewise doing dry January, although as I have a four bars meeting in Belfast on the 20th of January, the Gregorian calendar is being amended this year, and January will end on the 20th of January.
That'll be messy. Thanks for speaking to us, Edith. I'm conscious of the time as well. So
not at all. Thank you both. That really has flown in, and I'm sure we could have discussed this for a lot longer. But thank you both so much for joining us. Next up, we have Aamer Anwar. You are both very welcome to stay with us. I'm sure he's going to be really interesting. And this next section we have called Logglebox, take of Gogglebox, obviously, but yeah, we're going to be discussing with him Murder Island. So after this short break, we'll be back with Aamer. So thank you guys very much. That was really great. Thank you.
Good to see everyone. Thanks to Hay Legal as well. Thank you.
Cheers now.
So as I said before that break, I'm going to be joined by Aamer Anwar, and he was involved in the hit Channel 4 series Murder Island, which aired last year, written by Ian Rankin, featuring Aamer, Claire Mitchell QC and Bobby Reid Solicitor as lawyers in a show with a very unique format. So a murder mystery involving members of the public as the investigators, and also actors and legal professionals and police as well. And it was all filmed on the beautiful island of Gia, which provided a stunning backdrop. So Aamer's just about to join me now.
Hi, Edith.
Hello, Aamer, how are you?
Good, thank you. Good.
Good. So Murder Island, first of all, how did you get involved in that?
The producers were doing research and they contacted me out of the blue, and it was different from the normal request I'd get. Normally it's to do with news, TV, and they phoned up and said, "Oh, we're doing a program. We can't tell you which island it is." They told me the format. Would you be interested? So I tried not to sound too interested, and I said, "Well, you need to give me more details, and I can come back to you." So as soon as I put the phone down, I was like, oh, "I'd love to be in it." You know, they said they needed a lawyer, they needed a defence lawyer, and they said the people, when they did the research, people kept saying, "Why don't you try Aamer Anwar? He's not shy of a camera." So of course they came back to me, and I thought I had it in the bag. I said, "Yeah, definitely do it." They said it'd take about 7-8 days out of my diary, and then they asked, "Was there anybody else?" I also thought that would be up for it. So I suggested a couple of names, and of course Claire Mitchell was one of them. I said if they wanted sort of Marilyn Monroe-esque top QC, then Claire was definitely the one for the job. And then Bobby Reid from McGovern Reid, who I hadn't met before, also got through. And I think we were sort of auditioned. I was auditioned. I was surprised when they asked to audition because I thought I had it in the bag.
All right.
So we got for an audition, and they asked a few questions, and then that was it. And then of course, you know, we were in the midst of lockdown.
Yeah.
And I almost blew my chances of being on Murder Island, because we were supposed to go to the Isle of Gia. We were supposed to sort of isolate every single day. We were getting tested every day, and then I was supposed to get picked up, taken over on the ferry, and you get tested once you're there. And there was rigorous testing regime in Gia. But of course, the day before I was supposed to go out to Gia, the Kemnio Street protest took place, where the two, in quotes, illegal immigrants, as classed by Priti Patel, were locked in a van for deportation. And people started calling me from Kemnio Street and Pollock Shields and said, "Would you come?" At the back of my mind, of course, I knew that as soon as I'm there, that's it, I've blown my chances, because I'll be seen. And that night, of course, I mean, it went out all over the world once we managed to get the men released, march with them. And I spoke to Claire that night, and she went, "What the bloody hell are you doing?" And she's like, "A whole island knows." And I said, "What do they know? Do they know I was on there?" I said, "Everybody was watching it, the production crew, everyone." And of course, the next day I got a phone call from the producers saying, and I thought, "Look, I know I'm not going to be getting onto Murder Island." I went, "No, you'll get onto Murder Island, but you can just promise us you will stay in the house, and we'll get you in a day later, and you need to go through testing again." So I managed to get on the island.
Right. So I'm just thinking, Aamer, that we have a little clip actually of Murder Island. I'm sure most people have seen it, but for those who haven't or who need reminded, I'm just going to play a little clip just now, and we'll come back and chat about it a bit more. Thanks.
You must pay attention to detail. We need to understand how she died.
One of those people down there is the killer.
So very dramatic video there and some pictures of you all at the end. How long then were you on the island for? How long did
I was on the island for about seven days in total. Claire Mitchell was on, I think, for about 9 days. So me and Bobby were on for about 7 or 8 days, something like that.
And you didn't kind of feature until later on in the show. So were you kind of there from the start? I mean, were you?
No, they started filming earlier on. I mean, they had a big production. We didn't realise the scale of the production until we actually got there. The island only has a couple of hundred residents, and Channel 4 pretty much took over the whole island. They had about 195 people on their team. I absolutely loved it. It was in my element because you had your own sort of luxury camper van, which Claire was worrying about whether I would be up for being in a camper van, but it was a luxury camper van. You'd get picked up every morning. I'd insist on makeup. You get taken to makeup, then you'd wine and dine every single day. And sometimes you would be standing about waiting all day to be filmed because it was quite a fluid way of doing it. I mean, you said earlier, there was about something like, I think, 50,000 people that applied for the civilians role. And what it was teams of detectives. They had to play detectives who had to catch the murderers. And there was a team of actors who then act out the murder, written by Ian Rankin over a course of 6 episodes. The murder takes place, that's all filmed out, and then the detectives come on, and what they have is myself and Bobby playing the defence lawyers, Claire plays the prosecutor, and then you have actual real detectives, police officers, who then work with the teams, and then every single day, or I think second or third episode on, some of the detectives then start to be excluded until the end. The final team of 2 is left, and then they have to see whether they can catch the murderer. And if they could catch the murderer, then they would win £50,000. And I have to say, the 2 people that won were outstanding. Everybody loved them. It was life-changing money for them. They totally deserved it. They just recently got married, and it was just brilliant because we were all rooting for them to win. Yeah,
amazing. So, I mean, your role was defence lawyer. What was it like in particular, that role and advising the police about, or just doing that on screen as opposed to doing it in real life?
I mean, we were sort of because we had to sort of ad lib and just the first time round I remember when I walked into the room and me and Bobby were sort of wondering how we were going to do it, and obviously the camera's in there and you try and switch off on the camera. And go in. And the first time I walked in, I thought, because you just still, I mean, I'm used to doing TV news, used to doing other documentaries, but this was like, you had cameras all around you, and there's actors there, and you could stop and start walking into a room. The first thing I thought was, I'm just blown it. I didn't say who I am, and I just walked down and started talking to the client, trying to act normal. And then once you relax, you sort of got into it and thought, switch off from the cameras, because the actors were very good. And you had the detectives who were asking questions, and I thought, what would it, you just switched off and thought, what would you do in a police station if a police officer was taking the piss? If they were, exceeding the rule of law, if they were bullying your clients, so you just really got into it. So by then it was a case of just stop right there. You can't do that. So it was quite aggressive and robust in terms of the police questioning. And at times I thought when we would come out of the question, I thought, I wonder whether they would have got away with that in the police station or they would just throw me out. But the police officers themselves wouldn't have been allowed to. You would say that you can't do that with my client. And I think it was quite effective for people to see why you have a defence solicitor. But it was very frustrating because obviously if it was a murder case, if it was a serious crime, most of the time we advise our clients to make no comment. It's for the police to gather the evidence unless they've got something, you know, extremely important that they can say in terms of an alibi or whatever, then you would allow them to speak. And of course, they were trained actors, so they would stick to the no comment. But then we were getting taken out by the producers, who was almost like giving us a row. I said, listen, they need to speak.
Yeah.
And actors are getting pulled to and fro, but they've got a script written. And then they'd start speaking and I'd be like, what the hell are you doing? What the hell? You're almost like sticking yourself in this, you know, in the scene of the crime. You're going to get done for this. And then I said, can I have a moment with my client? And then obviously they had the script, you have to get on with it. So there was times it was frustrating, but once after the first sort of few minutes, you just totally got into the role and thought, what would you do if you were in, let's say, Govan Police Station? It just came naturally in terms of, obviously we ad-libbed it a bit, and sort of, you know, the banging of the table and the dramatics, I think we totally got into our roles. So. Yeah,
method acting. Here we've got a question popped up on screen from your good pal Bobby Reid. How did you feel working alongside a legal TV icon like Bobby Reid?
I knew him as Disco Bobby. The DJ, I think, in his past life. So, but no, it was great. It was I hadn't met Bobby before, so it was actually brilliant to meet him, and it was nice as well because the three of us as lawyers, you know, Claire's a long-term friend, but you never actually get time to spend, you know, the line of work we do with friends, and especially having been in lockdown. We were on the island for 7-8 days together. The weather was glorious. The island was absolutely stunning. And we just couldn't believe it. It was almost like we were living, you know, your dreams have come true. You're living there. You know, the fish, you know, the food was fantastic. The acting was good fun. And it was just, and when when it ended, it was like, okay, so we have to go back to reality.
Yeah.
Because that sort of hit home, thinking, well, we'd really love to carry on doing this. So, I mean, we still live in hope. But so the question about how does it feel working alongside the legal TV icon like Bobby Reid? It was good fun. It was good fun.
And Claire managed to get you into a camper van as well, by the sounds of it.
She didn't quite convert me. She didn't quite convert me, but it was good fun. My children were extremely impressed. I kept sending them videos, etc. And then when I came back, they wanted me to get a camper van. I said, listen, I'll get a camper van, but I'll park it outside a 5-star hotel, and then we can travel about, and then we'll go and get a suite or something in the hotel.
So another question for you is did you, obviously Ian Rankin wrote the series, did you get to meet him? Did he feature on any time?
Sadly not. I mean, we had on the final episode, we were invited, myself, Claire and Bobby were invited down to London for the final episode, and it was basically the whole team and the actors, and we watched it in a cinema screen down in London. And Ian was on the screen and gave a message, so sadly didn't get to meet him, but we messaged each other. There was tweets, etc., that was going on, so it almost felt as though, you know, it was part of it. And obviously it was exciting when we found out, because we were sworn to secrecy for a start when who the writer was. When we found out it was Ian Rankin. But then the hard part of it, of course, was keeping our mouth shut. Claire said to me, said, how are you going to keep your mouth shut through this whole period, Aamer? You know, like for a couple of months until it's eventually, it was October it was screened. I think we finished filming in sort of beginning of September. No, before that, I think it was actually May that we finished. So through that whole period of time, everybody was asking us questions, and we all had to keep our mouths shut. And then once the program started, everybody wanted to know who's the murderer, you know, who actually wins at the end. And we managed to keep it. Even my children were like watching it, and they were like saying, Dad, who is it? And they were all like just trying to watch my face, and you just kept completely straight. Yeah. I'm proud to say, for once, my lips were completely sealed right into the end. And even Disco Bobby kept his mouth shut.
So there was a rap party as well. How did that go?
What happened at the rap party stays in the rap party. So, but no, it was great. It was nice. I mean, like I said, being on Gia was amazing, because it was lockdown, and actually to have that opportunity to get away, because we didn't know at that time whether we were going to get away abroad or anything, or have holidays. And then going down to the rap party was really good fun, because you could actually let your hair down with the cast, because it was all sorts of a COVID regime during the course of that. So in terms of meeting people, you know, being able to relax, and this is in a period when, we're now back into a sort of a form of a lockdown, I suppose. So it was good fun to be able to. Of course, there was some drama, as there always is, because Claire sadly got stranded, I think, at York. We're phoning up. We're trying to find Ubers, a train. She'd been sat in the train for about 2 hours. We thought she would never make it. And then, of course, Madame Prosecutor made a grand entrance, I think, in the last 10 minutes of the episode. She finally got there. We were trying to find taxi drivers for her, etc. Every time she approached one, they thought she was taking the mickey and that, you know, she wanted to go all the way to London. But she made it. But yeah, it was great. It was just great fun. It's a great memory. We all three of us, of course, hope that the next Murder Island is set in the Bahamas or somewhere like that, and that they invite us back. We'll see. But I mean, it was the first series. I think it will come back again. I mean, the individuals who made it are sort of BAFTA award winners, and everything they do normally gets snapped up. And then I suspect they had teething problems in the beginning, but it was a great format. There was lots of things, you know. There was also lots of quite robust arguments between me, Bobby, Claire, with producers and the team that were making it, in terms of, because we kept putting our own legal point of view. Claire was like saying, "You can't do that. That would never happen." I think there was at one point they were asking Claire at the end to get on a boat and to escort, you know, the killer away, and we're going, "You would never have a procurator fiscal or an advocate deputy walking away, you know, handcuffed with the killer onto a boat. That's not their job." But they wanted the dramatics of it. I think in the end it was swapped around because we were saying that just doesn't make sense. But of course, they had to mix the drama with the reality.
Absolutely. And so, are there plans for another series? Do you know?
I think so. I hope so. I know it's been watched very closely, and I think everything that they've had their fingers on over the years has usually led to another series. It was a great format. Teething problems, I think, in the first episode or so, but then it just sort of seemed to take place. And I was surprised because, you know, it was funny because Claire was on the train, and there was folk on the train. She was sending us photographs because people were sitting on the train watching back episodes. I was surprised as normally get stopped on the street and people normally say, "Are you Hamza Yusuf?" or something like that. And I go, "No, I'm not a politician. I'm no lawyer." Or they'll say, "Oh, you're the lawyer off the TV or whatever." But this is the first time somebody watched Murder Island, because I thought folk are actually watching it. And then when you go past billboards and see the whole, you know, the series is up there, you realize it's huge. We didn't actually honestly realize what a huge launch they would do for the program. I mean, it was absolutely everywhere. Folk were monitoring it, and obviously there was people who were like trying to figure it out and coming on Twitter, and so I think it caught the public imagination. So most definitely, I suspect that there will be another series. Whether we're in it, I don't know. We'll probably beg to be back on it. I suspect it'll probably be in a hotter climate. But yeah, definitely, I hope there is another series.
Yeah, fantastic. So I think my previous two guests, Roddy Dunlop, QC, and Iain Smith, have remained on. So I think I was going to bring them back to see if they had any questions or comments for you. Let me just see if there's Iain.
He probably wants to be the grey blonde shell prosecutor. So.
Roddy as well. Iain, Roddy.
Roddy made a comment about Roddy being the grey bombshell, which Aamer has just suggested as a prosecutor for Murder Island. I think Roddy has a face for TV. Mine's is more for radio, so I think we'll speak to Aamer and Claire and Bobby. Disco Bobby would be fine.
I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed the programme. It was immeasurably improved when Claire arrived and then hit the skids when Aamer turned up. But it was both enjoyable, but also, I thought, informative, and I think it probably did bring quite a lot of insight to members of the public who watched it as to what happens in any given situation of police investigation, what happens after that, the involvement of the lawyers. I thought it was very well done. I hope it is done again. And it was both, as I say, entertaining and informative, but also, especially having been written by Ian Rankin, it did leave you on tenterhooks on the cliff edge right till the last minute. There'll be no spoilers, but it was. I thought it was well worth doing. In common with other things that we've had, you know, the recent documentary following the murder trial that was run. Again, I think it's really very important to try and educate the public as to what happens in cases like that. It demystifies the process. It makes people more engaged in the legal system, something I think is really quite important, especially at the moment in a situation where in many ways the legal profession is under sustained attack from a variety of different directions, whether it be lefty lawyers, whether it be said that it's the fault of the legal profession, we've got a broken immigration system, whether the independence of the legal profession is to be interfered with in the way that's suggested in the news today, following on the response of the judiciary to plans to reform the legal profession. It's far easier to debunk these things and to rebut these things if we have a public that has a greater understanding of what it is we do and why it is that we do it. And if it's a profession that sees that, if it's a public that sees a profession which is acting in their interests, which I have absolutely no doubt the great majority of the legal profession is doing, it's acting in an attempt to improve things in our society, not to make them worse. It's really quite important that we continue to educate the members of the public so that they can see that.
Absolutely. And I think as well, Roddy, it's, how often do we watch legal things that are so inaccurate? You end up just shouting and screaming at the TV, but these are informative but entertaining. I mean, I particularly enjoyed the trial that followed the murder in Inverkip. It was fantastic, I think, because it was real life. But it's good to have these things that are accurate and to involve lawyers and people that actually work in the area day to day that can give accurate information rather than just any old tripe that people watch.
I think on the back of what Roddy said as well, I think what was important was people, as they watched it as they went along, the amount of times that people hear on the TV, somebody's been murdered, they think, well, they've got the guy. And you think, well, and the amount of times you say, no, they haven't, because there's a process to be gone through. And, and somebody's names in the newspapers, people have been arrested, oh, they've got the guy. And then slowly that, they don't get that front page headline to say actually been released without charge. And the amount of people that thought, oh, I think it's him. And then actually seeing, well, as I kept saying to the producers, I said, it's not just the police, it's not just the prosecution. There is no justice without defence, which many of us, Roddy, Ian, myself, and others have been saying for quite some time with the attacks that have been taking place on the legal system, that people seem to forget that there is a role for defence. And I think it was important to actually see there that people that they thought were guilty, then all of a sudden, as the programme developed, you realise, well, they just on basis of suspicion, then that's it. That's why you need a defence lawyer. That's why you need a healthy legal aid system, because vulnerable people, oppressed people from all sorts of backgrounds just need somebody to advocate on their behalf, and you need a balanced system. And as we saw with the judiciary, they pulled no punches. It's the most devastating indictment of the Scottish government in terms of a legal form regulation for the Lord President, who's also the Justice General, to come out of the commentary. But talking about interference with the rule of law and independent judiciary, this is not happening in England. It's happening in Scotland, and it does need to be tackled. And I think the more that members of the public know about it, the better, because one day they could require a lawyer. They could require a defence lawyer. People always say, well, who needs a lawyer? But what you do once you're in the police station, because you just don't know what's going to happen. Sorry, my lights have just gone off. So,
to bring things round to Minister, and again, we're running out of time. We could talk about this all night. In a biopic, who would play you as actors? Ian, start with you.
Edith, sorry, I missed that.
I'm saying in a biopic, what actor would play you in a movie?
Play me, Mark McManus, but he's now dead. That's the original Taggart.
There's been a month.
Like me now.
Roddy, what about you?
Roddy's one. As the Dean, he might be looking for the late James Dean, but let's hear who he's got to say.
Well, according to Twitter, it would have to be Mark Bonner, who apparently I look like. I personally think I look far younger than Mr. Bonner, who's a good 18 months older than me, but I couldn't complain if it was him.
Okay, Aamer.
Of course, I would turn around and say it has to be me that's playing myself, but if not, then a younger Al Pacino or Andy Garcia.
Oh,
What about you, Edith?
oh, I don't know. I haven't ever given that any thought, or have I? I don't know. I think we did, because I was involved in the Malcolm Webster trial, which was also made into an ITV docudrama kind of or a drama series, and it was very close to the trial. So we did discuss, but they never had a court scene, so there was no need for anyone. I don't know. I think I probably would go with Aamer. I'd just play myself. But yeah. Well, listen, thank you so much. That was so interesting, our Logo Box section, which, again, we hope to repeat in future episodes. I'm now going to move on. My friend Mandy Gordon is waiting in the wings. And again, you're very welcome to remain on, guys, if you want to pick up any health tips or nutritional tips for the year going forward. But can I thank you all very much indeed for your time tonight. It's been really great having you, and you've contributed so much to this evening's discussion. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Right. Thank you. So I'm back for the final section of tonight's Hey Legal Social, live on YouTube and Twitter. And my final guest is my good friend, Mandy Gordon, who is founder and owner of Cyclebox, an amazing gym in Glasgow's West End, which utilises spin bikes and boxing to give incredible fitness classes. They also do personal training. So Mandy, I think you're in the wings waiting to come on.
Yay! Hello, Edith. Edith, you look gorgeous.
Oh, so do you. You always do. How are you?
In your gym kit.
I know.
You're so glam.
Oh, it's either lycra or suits. I think there's the two options of
outfits. That's a good mix.
So how are you this new year? How are things?
Good, all good. Got my goals ready for the year. Trying to get everybody motivated again. Obviously, it's been really tough, Edith, for people to get back into fitness. So even trying to get them to go online or go a walk, or just trying to motivate people, because this is a tough start to the year for people.
It is. And I mean, January generally, what you find in normal years, because the last couple of years have been anything but normal, but you would always, start of January, everybody's in the gym. Are you seeing that? Is that coming back a bit, do you think?
Yeah, I think it definitely is. I didn't think it would, but yeah, we've seen like classes are packed again, which is a good sign. And I think before Christmas, obviously everybody was a bit scared. They didn't come. They stayed away. So I'm starting to see everybody coming back again, which is, I think, is a good sign. Yeah. And I'm hearing a lot of the commercial gyms are busy again as well.
Well, that's great. So just Cyclebox, I'm talking because I know about Cyclebox because I've been through it. I've been
best member.
I've not been. I came recently, but I used to come a lot, and I need to come back because it really is the best.
You just is super fit, everyone. Very fit girl. An absolute savage, honestly.
Well, I need to get myself back. But tell us a bit about Cyclebox, Mandy. Just a wee brief bit about how it came about and what it is.
Cyclebox is classes of cycling and boxing. So what we do, it's 30 minutes on a spin bike. We call it a fight camp. So it's 30 minutes on a spin bike. It's pretty tough. It's in a dark room with music, and the coaches are there to push you right through it, which it's not easy to do on your own. But they're there, they walk round, they push you right through. It's really, really hard training. Then you come off the bike. So that's your cardio, good for your heart, your lungs, that's good to do. Then you come off and then you put the boxing gloves on. And that's when you do like boxing training. So you're like 30 seconds on a boxing bag, then 10 press ups, back on, off. So it's so intense, the training, you know, but obviously you can take it your level. So we have beginners in and they just take it their own level. We have athletes in. We had a rugby team in, not a top rugby team in, but they were all throwing up outside. And it just shows you, you know, they obviously gave it 110%. So it's what you put into it. And obviously you can really go for it. So it's all levels. You take it your own kind of pace, but it's kind of almost like military training. It's like kind of abuse you. It's tough love. But you know, we'll give you a high five at the end of class and say, well done. But I feel the people that come are quite crazy, you know, a lot of lawyers, a lot of doctors, a lot of, you know, people that have high intensity jobs. And I feel it's a real release that we actually shout at them because they're usually in control of their world. But when they step in our doors, they're ours. And, you know, we push them right through till the end. It's quite brutal, but it's so rewarding how you feel at the end of it.
So we were talking earlier about, and I was saying to you that for me, coming to Psychwalks for that hour, it's almost like you can't focus on anything but what you're doing because it's so intense. But that gives your brain time just to rest and relax whilst your body's doing
no emails, nothing.
Yeah, and as you say, and you said something there that, you know, for, I suppose, for anyone really, but for people that have got stressful jobs where you're very much focused, you've got lots of responsibility, lots of stress, then going to a class like that and having somebody telling you what to do or even shouting at you.
Yeah, we do shout.
It's not a shouter, but, you know, she keeps us going. But, you know, just having that removed, that is a great stress relief for people,
definitely.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely a release, you know, and you get pushed out, you get pushed rather than you would train on your own. So we push you to your absolute limit. You know, if we know if you can do it, you know, if you've had a hard day, we won't push you as much. But if we know you've not got a hangover, you know, you're feeling quite good, you've eaten a good food, then we're going to push you because we know you can do it. You know, get that extra 10 press ups when you think you can only do 5, or get you up into a full one rather than doing 20 half. We'll get you up to that full one because we know you can do it. It's mind over matter stuff training. That's all it is. If you're able-bodied, Edith, there's no reason you can't do it. You know, and then with the right nutrition, fuels your body to train, and it's the best feeling in the world. There's no better feeling than being strong.
That's it. So for people that are maybe not quite at, and I suppose lawyers, we better focus on lawyers since we are Hey Legal. For those who are maybe not used to an exercise regime, what kind of things, somebody that's maybe not particularly healthy or, you know, whatever, never trained, what kind of changes can they make to their everyday life to just start increasing fitness or just getting their bodies a bit more healthy?
So what I would recommend to people that have never done any training, don't really know about fitness, but they've hit January and they've gone, right, I need to get motivated. I would treat your training like a meeting. So for me, training is, I call it training, not like fitness or exercise, because you're training your body and your mind. So you have to remember that it's not just, I think social media makes about the body and, you know, oh, we all look great. Yes, you do get that eventually. But I think if you focus on how good you feel from it. So for me, like, I gave up alcohol 10 years ago and I've never felt better. You know, I'm not saying give up alcohol, but it's kind of these things. And then I started training. And then I thought, no, this is non-negotiable for you. I train 6 days a week. You know, I'm not asking you to do that. Even if you get up on a Monday morning and you put into your schedule, you know, you've got a meeting, work out what you've got in your day. You know, if it's first thing in the morning that works for you before work or before school run, then do it then. So even go for a walk, a 20-minute walk, or in your lunch break, rather than sitting on social media or going through emails that you don't really need to do. Right then, go for a walk, you know, listen to that podcast or do your research, have a purpose for it, or do it after work. You know, a lot of females like doing it in the morning, they train in the morning, a lot of men like to train it in the evening. It's just how you feel. So start by thinking, don't put in, I'm going to train at 5 a.m. every single morning. It's not going to work unless you're that kind of person that'll, for me, I train before I train my clients because it works for me. So I'm not exhausted at the end of the night. But even on a lunch break, have a 30-minute, go for a walk. Or do a HIIT workout. You know, sometimes when we were doing online training, I would just wake up, brush my teeth, have a coffee, a banana, and then I'd do my training. And that might be press ups, squats, core, you know, it's built into me. I think it's definitely non-negotiable for your body, for your mind, and then eating well as well. I just feel it can be free, you know, it doesn't have to cost anything. But if you just up and do it, treat it like you wash your face, you have to eat, you train, and then the benefits from it will make you keep it on, not just in January, but when you start to see and feel how good you feel. For me, I'm so productive after I train. I get such a boost from it. And then all my business ideas come to me and I'm like, right, I'm going to change that class. Right, I'm going to bring in that. I'm going to go online. You know, I'm going to bring in single box hoodies. You know, whatever it is, it comes to me after my training. Always.
I think that's the thing, though. You know, that I certainly suffer from the thought of training is just, you think, the dread of it. But once you can't, the main thing is either getting yourself in front of if you're doing it at home or in front of a screen, or get yourself to the gym. And once you get there and you've done it, and people, you know, people that aren't used to training will be thinking, oh, it really makes you feel good. It actually does. And it is the endorphins, but it's just giving your brain a bit of a rest. And
you feel really powerful after it. You feel, God, I can do anything. I can do anything. And I'm not scared of anyone, which is a weird thing as well. You know, if you've not got a lot of confidence or whatever, you feel unstoppable once you've trained. Honestly, I think there's no better feeling than, you know, that empowerment you get from it. And, you know, you be confident in your work, confident in everyday life. It brings there's so many benefits from it. It's brilliant. And if you do wake up, Edith, and you feel that's, you know, that wee person's shoulder going, nah, not today, can't be bothered. Then you have to dig deep and go, no, I'm going to go, you know, I'm going to do it. It's all about mind over matter. You wake up, it's how you start your day. You tell yourself, yes, today I'm going to put it into my break or put it in tonight. Or you have to wake up with a good mindset and go, yeah, right, that's it. Don't wake up, oh, I hate the world, I hate my job, I hate this. You can change that. Honestly, you can just go, I get up every single day for the past 15 years. How have I done it? I just go, no, you're getting up and you're doing it. No matter what's going on in the world. Fitness can always be your thing at home, at a gym.
I'm conscious of the time, Andy, because I think we literally have about 2.5 minutes left, if that, and I'm not sure. I think we might just get cut off.
No, that's
two things. Cool. First of all, do you do online classes at all, Mandy?
We're going to start doing them because we still have a few companies that we train and they stayed online, and it's just convenient for them. So we're going to start now building an online platform because it's something that, well, the pandemic's kind of made us do, and it's good, you know, so we can maybe tap into more people, not just in Glasgow. So we would love to push the online more again.
Okay. And then just on the kind of nutrition side of it, again, for those taking the extreme of people that have overindulged, maybe never really been that interested in a healthy diet, or, you know, but they now realise, you know, because, you know, you're talking about pandemic, or, you know, and all we've had is COVID for the last 2 years, but we've had very little about looking after yourself and actually helping yourself naturally.
It's the number one to fighting disease.
Absolutely. So eating, exercise, supplements. What then in terms of eating would you say would be a good place to start?
Start by eating porridge every morning. Porridge is just the best. I've eaten that since I've been a kid. It is the best thing in the world, you know. And if you are trying to cut weight down, or it is weight loss, have your porridge with your water and half milk, you know, like oat milk or almond milk. Have a little then put like the half a banana on it, then have half the banana after you train, you know. So if you're going to your training, I would definitely recommend having the porridge about 2 hours before, or have it after you train. Porridge keeps you full right up till your lunchtime. You know, good thing, leafy greens, you know, get all the you need to eat your vegetables. They're like your vitamins, you know. I know
you're a keen juicer, and I've gone through phases of it, and then I get fed up and I buy it in shops.
Just do one juice every day for my vitamins. That's it. I wouldn't recommend juicing or juice cleanse. I like, you know, you should really eat food, but I just take one green juice every day instead of taking like vitamins. So,
and do you have a simple recipe, Mandy, for somebody that could whiz up their own green juice? Or juicing a bit, you know, you kind of need a juicer to do it properly, but is there something that somebody could make that would be a very simple start to their day?
You can make it a soup blender, you know, it could be a smoothie rather than a juice. You don't have to get the big fancy cold press. It doesn't work. People go out and buy them and they never use it. But if you just make it really simple, get a cucumber, a whole cucumber. So if you imagine the cucumber turns into the water, so that's your water base, handful of spinach. Not a lot of people like kale, but if you like kale, throw it in. So good for you. Lemon, lime, and a little bit of ginger. There you go. There's all your minerals, your vitamins. You'll feel brown on it. And if you struggle to get your veg in, just drink that every day. I drink it every day. I don't replace it. You know, I'll still have my breakfast later, the porridge, but it's just good for your skin, makes you feel good, your digestive system, you get your fibre in one drink that can take you 5 minutes to make. We're so lazy that we don't do stuff like that. You know, just try and do it and you'll see how you feel. Well, Edith, you do it.
I go through phases, yeah, but yeah, you're right, and it does. It makes you feel so much better. Mandy, we're out of time, but again, I could have spoken all night about this, and you know,
I want to be a lawyer now. I listen to you guys. I want to be a lawyer. Just didn't make the grades.
Mandy, thank you so much. You've been.
Thank you for having me. And I'll see you in class. You
will see me in class, and we'll have you back. I'm sure we'll do this again, and we'll have you back. So thank you so much for all your knowledge and your enthusiasm.
See you soon.
Thanks, Mandy. Thank you.
Bye.
And that's